cheese. Come get that back in blood. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on this video. If you're new here, hey girl, hey. Today we're getting into another true crime video, so make sure you stick around, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into it. It is late. I'm filming on a Wednesday. Club going up. That's on a Tuesday. Anyways, it's late. I'm filming. Let's have some alcohol. I know I said before that I was going to do some cocktails, but I just haven't gotten around to it. It takes a lot of time to get those ingredients together, and I don't want to order it off of Amazon because Amazon has the big bulk, so I just really haven't had time to go do that. But I still want to make sure I'm pushing out videos, giving you guys content. But I do have some wine today. Same old wine as last time, so I won't introduce. Make sure you watch my last video. If you have not seen my last video on Little Miss Anna Palmer, make sure you click on that video. I'll link it up here in the cards. Yes, make sure you are watching. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're subscribing. Without further ado, today's video is a tough one. It was a lot of information. I don't want to really glance over important information, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on gruesome details. Warning, gruesome details. Today's true crime story is about a love story gone wrong. It starts off when a young lady named Yesenia Suarez, I believe I'm saying that incorrectly, Yesenia Suarez. It starts off with her meeting a guy while she's out, and this guy, his name is Louis Toledo, and her and him meet. A crazy story. The two of them meet at a carnival. They meet at a carnival, and there's a fight that breaks out, and Yesenia ends up getting hit, and Louis, he comes to her rescue. He goes with her to the hospital, and he stays by her side, and he does the noble thing. So the two of them, they start out blissful. Everything's good. The two of them wed on New Year's Day. I believe it was 2011. I'll put the year up on the screen. They get married on New Year's Day. And with that being said, Yesenia has 2 children from a previous relationship. Their names are Talia and Michael. And they are 9 and 8. So while Yesenia is doing her mommy thing, now she's a wife, she's doing that thing, she's also working full-time, and she's also going to college to get her degree. She is attending school and holding down the fort, being a bad mama jamma. You know how that goes. So I want to kick off to the storyline, kind of leading up to the events. So I told you guys a little bit about Yesenia. Let's talk about Louis Toledo, Yesenia's husband. He has this nickname, Semi, and from what I read, it doesn't seem like he started the fight in the carnival that got Yesenia hit the day that they met. But his name is Semi, and I can't think of anything aside from strength that will go along with Semi, because they're not fast. They just pull a lot of weight. Yeah, let's go with that, because he's not a very big guy. So I must say, because my man's is strong. So yeah, I'm looking at my notes. I done put this man had a one-hitter quitter. I don't know if he had a one-hitter quitter or not, but his name is Semi, so I don't know. You take your best guess. So the marriage started off in the honeymoon phase, as most marriages do. It started off in the honeymoon phase. Everything was great. Everything was blissful, but it would come to show that Yesenia was in an abusive relationship. This is the information that her family shared, not any information that Yesenia told the police, but just information that her family shared. So on October 16th, 2013, Louis and Yesenia got into an argument. They got into an argument about Yesenia going on a work trip Lewis was just very suspicious of her and the things that she was doing, mainly because from what all I read, he was a stay-at-home dad, but the kids were in school. So y'all make of that what y'all would like, but he wasn't doing anything throughout the day. Or night, for that matter. But I'm going to backtrack to his criminal history afterwards. Actually, let's run it back. Let's just put it out there now. So, Jessenia fell in love with the bad guy turned good guy. And he was previously, Luis. He was previously a Latin king. And they say that he turned on his gang by testifying against a member of the gang. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I think he just, I don't know. Some guys they claim that when they're in prison because they need protection. Then when they're out on the streets, none of their compadres are around. So it's easy for them to fake. I don't think he ever gave that life up. But anywho, yeah, so let's look at his criminal history. I can't find it, but I'll insert it here on the screen. Okay, let's move on. So Jessenia and Luis argued over text messages. They argued before she went on this work trip because she was going with a guy coworker, and Luis was just really, I'm gonna just call him Luis. I know it's pronounced Luis, but I am struggling to pronounce Luis. I'm gonna try. Actually, I don't really care if I get his name right. He's no important. He's not important. Anyways, Luis gets in an argument with Jessenia because she's going on a work trip with his coworker, and he's just really like doing things that are unnecessary, all up in her business, doing things that are typical of abusive men, you know. Jessenia and Luis get into an argument on October 16th. They're arguing over text messages. He doesn't trust her while she's out on this work trip with her coworker. And when she gets back in town, Luis finds a way to either, I'm not sure if he looked through her phone or if he did the extreme and tapped her phone so that the text messages were cloned. But either way, he finds text messages in her phone that would lead people to believe that she was being unfaithful. And what's he do? He goes ballistic. He go crazy, y'all. He goes to her job. Homie leaves home because, you know, he a stay-at-home dad with no kids in the home. So he leaves home and goes to her job and confronts her, acting mad crazy. He goes to her job. He's arguing. He sees the coworker. He want him a little piece of that. So he's talking crazy to him. Jessenia is trying to get him to like just cool down. Calls him into her office. Y'all, it escalated from there. It escalated from there. Because why did he drive up to, he couldn't even wait till she got home. He was like, nah, I need answers right now. You had the answers in the phone. Anyways, this fool slaps her. And the co-workers can't see it happen because her door is closed to her office. But when he comes out, he storms out and she's holding her face. So that leads them to believe that. So they do call the police.
I was wondering if I could have a police officer come to an office building. We have somebody in our building that will not leave.
Luis leaves the parking lot of her job before the police get there. But good for Jessenia. She does give the police information, and she does go forward with wanting to press charges. So Jessenia was really close with her mother, and I'm going to Felicita Perez is her mother's name. She is a very big part of getting the police involved in this situation. Very big support of her daughter. So Felicita, of course, Jessenia chats with her mom. She tells her what's going on. She tells her what's been going on, and just lets her know that her and Luis are having some issues. I believe they did, she did say she wanted a divorce. Probably very triggering for Luis. But despite what happened that day, she wants to go home. She wants to sleep in her house. And her and the kids, Talia and Michael, they do go home and they live there as a family. Luis had previously agreed that he would live there for 3 months, work on getting his stuff together and get out. But unfortunately, that is not how everything plays out. On October 23rd, 2013, Felicita, Yesenia's mother, she gets a little worried because she hasn't heard from her daughter. She normally calls her, checks in on her, and she knows about what happened the previous day, so she's expecting a phone call from her. She's calling her daughter. She's not responding. She's not answering her calls. So Felicita does what any great mom does. She pulls up on her. And ironically, when Felicita is pulling up at the house, the police also are there. And at the same time, almost, Luis also arrives to the house. So I believe Felicita arrived first. The police arrived because she called for a welfare check on her baby. And Luis, he arrived as well. So when the police see Luis, Felicita's like, where's my daughter? What's going on? Like, she's not answering the calls. He says she left last night with the kids and that he doesn't know. He hasn't heard from her. So the police ask him, can they look in the house? He unlocks the door. He lets them in the home. They look around, but as soon as they enter, they are hit with this like intense smell of cleaning products. So they're looking around and nothing looks out of place, but everything just it just feels off to them. So the police, of course, they are doing a welfare check. At this point, it hasn't been 24 hours. There's no missing persons report filed. There's nothing out of place in the home, so they don't have reasoning to search the home. But Luis sticks to his story that Yesenia left in the middle of the night with the kids. Ooh. So the story continues to turn from bad to worse when Felicita calls her grandchildren's school and the children are not in attendance that day. And as I mentioned before, Yesenia was in school to get her degree, and her babies were also, she took education very important. So she wouldn't keep them out unless they were sick. So it was very alarming for the children not to be in school that day. So from there, the police took the investigation a little further. They actually took Luis into custody on the warrant from the assault on the previous day, and he was arrested. So the police, with the information that Felicita presented, they began a missing persons case, and they got a warrant to look in the house. And what they found in the home was just a little bit of blood splatter. They found a little bit of blood splatter. It wasn't consistent with anything that they believed to be accidental. But that was enough evidence, and while that was the evidence that they collected while they were in the house, on top of the cleaning products, which is like, why you got all these cleaning products in here? And the house is like clean but not clean. Like, who mops the floors but they don't put laundry away? Who mops the floors but they don't dust the blinds? You know, like, you doing a whole lot but not doing a whole lot, so it seemed like you're trying to cover something up. But anywho, there's a neighbor that comes over to talk with police because he is familiar with Yesenia and the children. And the neighbor's his name is Tyshawn. I don't remember his last name. I'm just going to say Tyshawn because he's not a big part to the end result of this story. So Tyshawn comes over and he talks to police, and he says that he was with Luis earlier that morning, and that Luis came over and asked him to drive Yesenia's car to a neighboring town. So he said it was a weird ride once they had dropped Yesenia's car off to the neighboring town and then came back. He said it was weird because the ride was quiet and awkward, and on the ride back home, that Luis just yelled out and blurted, "I just snapped." So of course Tyshawn is like, "I don't like, what's going on? You weird." He asked him to drop him off. So later on, Tyshawn gets out of the car, and then Luis is going back home in his car, and I believe that's the same time when he was pulling up to the house with Felicita being there, Justinia's mother, and the police. So divine, like, this is how it was supposed to, we were supposed to catch you in your bullshit, basically. Excuse me, BS. Okay, so at this point Luis is in custody, and the police are talking to him. They're asking him, where's Jessenia? Where are the children? Do you know what's going on? And at this point, Luis is pointing fingers at Tyshawn, saying y'all should look into him. And the police are like, oh, okay. Unbeknownst to Luis, they are looking into Tyshawn at the time. And they have him in the interrogation room, and they're talking to him, asking him, does he know where the family is? Does he know what's going on? And he explains to them that on the way to drop off Jessenia's car, that Luis had these trash bags, and they pulled over, and Luis threw the trash bags into a trash can, like one of the big receptacles. So the police are able to verify Tyshawn's alibi. They're later on able to see him on camera elsewhere. So they have a good timeline between October 22nd and October 23rd where they can eliminate him. Whew. It's a lot. Jeez. Okay. So Tyshawn is cooperating with police, and he takes the police back on the route that they took going to the neighboring town where Jessenia's car was dropped off. And the police pull out this evidence, which is now evidence, from the trash can. They're able to find stuffed animals, a boot that belonged to Luis, a car mat, just items that have blood on them. So they take pictures of that, take that into evidence, and the police allow Luis to go back to his cell. And the next day, they have a lot more evidence to present, and and at this point, they're like, okay, something's going on here. This is more than just she left in the middle of the night. Okay, so at this point, the police are on day 2 of interrogating Luis. So yeah, they're on day 2. Sorry about that. They're on day 2. And the previous day, I believe interrogations were like over 8 hours, but he just acted all sad and exhausted and wanted to go back to his cell. He was not cooperative with police. He just was doing a lot of finger pointing. So on day 2, what the detectives do is they bring out pictures of the family. They bring out pictures of Jessenia, Michael, and Talia, and they show him. And I don't know if it's like when you have time to think about it and everything comes in, or if the pictures actually provoke some feelings, assuming this man has feelings. He starts to cry. Luis starts to cry looking at the photos of his family, and this is when all the confessions start pouring out. And from there, Luis admits to killing Jessenia. He explains it He explains it as though it's an accident. He says that she was arguing with him and upset with him about being on the PlayStation all day. And y'all, he even throw Tyshawn in the mix. He says that Tyshawn came over and they were playing the PlayStation 3 all day, and that Jessenia doesn't like that. And when she got home, she was spazzing, arguing with him, telling him things he didn't want to hear, and the argument escalated from there. She was pushing him and attacking him and coming at him. This is what he says. And he says he just snapped, and he grabs his neck, and he says he hit her, and Jessenia fell to the ground. He said that she died looking at me. I'm like, y'all, I'm gonna insert the clip because the confession, it deserves a Grammy, but I'm gonna insert the clip.
Okay, so she started going off on me. She told And she want everybody to leave. She want me to get out the house, grabbing on me. Get her up with the neck.
Okay, so when Lewis is confessing to killing Jessenia, he still does not know that Tyshawn has already spoken with police and is not being investigated as a suspect at this time. So he blames the deaths of his young children on Tyshawn. He says that Tyshawn came in when he saw Jessenia on the floor, and then the children came in after because they heard the screaming and the ruckus. And Tyshawn shoos the children out of the room, and Luis explains that all he hears is like this hacking, banging noise. And he says that he goes to the bathroom to find his children, and they are deceased. His children were axed by Tyshawn, is what he says. And what he says is, "Oh man, you killed my children." This is what he says in the confession. And I'm like, there's absolutely no way, sir. Whose response is that? And they looking at somebody standing over their unalive babies. So this is what he says happens. So the police send him back to his cell. They bring him back for a third day. They bring Luis back for a third day. Because at this point, this man has not said where the bodies are. They have enough evidence based on his confession and the articles found in the dumpster, the blood particles, the blood splatter that was in the home was in the bathroom. So that is consistent, partially consistent with the confession that he gave, alleging that Tyshawn was the person who unalived his children. So they bring him back a third day. A third day of interrogations. Shout out to the detectives and the police work on this case. So of course, Luis is still not cooperating with police. He is going around and around. He's saying, "I don't know where the bodies are. Tyshawn took them. I don't know what happened. I don't know where he took them. I don't know where the bodies are." So throughout this time, while he's talking with the detectives, he keeps saying, "My stomach hurts. I need to use the restroom." So, of course, in today's day and age, you got to make sure you're compliant with these clients, because you don't want no issues, right? They're trying to oblige his request because they need something out of this man. They want to give this family closure. They want to know where the bodies are. So he's taking trips back and forth to the bathroom. And eventually, while he's walking to the bathroom for the last time, the detectives hear this fool mumble, "I'll never tell you where the bodies are." That's not verbatim. Something like that. He says that, and he barricades himself in the restroom. The detectives can hear a glass break, and they're unable to get to Luis. They're unable to get into the bathroom. So eventually, finally, when they're able to break into this restroom, they see that Luis has attempted. He's cut himself. I think I'm gonna have to bleep that word out. I don't think I can say that word, but the power of editing. He tries to harm himself.
Police.
And the detectives are able to get to him. They're able to get him out of the bathroom, get him wrapped up, get him over to medical, and that's not his last day. He gets to go to trial. So at that point, they have the information they need. They're able to move forward with the case. So Luis waits in jail, as most do, without bond, until his court date. And the prosecutors on this case, they discuss how it's very difficult to try a case without the bodies of proof. And let me tell y'all about this fool, because he has what's called audacity. He had the audacity to write Felicita while he was in jail awaiting trial, saying, where are the bodies? How is there a murder with no bodies? Basically asking for pictures for her to present information that shows what the cops allege is true. Just audacity. Audacity. So nonetheless, Luis has to stand trial for two first-degree murder charges and murder in the second degree on Jessenia's death. And the prosecutors are laying out what's going on. Of course, the defense, they want to create doubt. So what do? They throwing Tyshawn under the bus, just like Luis threw him under the bus. They're like, he's previously convicted felon. He's the convenient neighbor next door. If Luis got to go down, so do Tyshawn. So they are playing hardball in this court. So the prosecution does their job. They present all of the, the prosecution does their job. They present all of the evidence. They present text messages. They have witnesses. They have testimony from people who have observed the interactions between Luis and Jessenia, and they are able to get a conviction. Y'all, backtrack. I'm gonna say this because I think it's hilarious. The prosecution had the man Kevin, the co-worker that Jessenia went on a trip with, the text messages that Luis found, they had him on the stand. And I was like, they really trying to get Luis to act a fool in this courtroom. Now, I don't know if he acted a fool or not. I'm pretty sure he was real uncomfortable looking at this man who had a relationship with Jessenia. I don't know, but good job to the prosecution for making sure that they showed the true colors of Luis. So after it's all said and done, the prosecution has painted this colorful picture of what they believed happened. They're able to get a conviction, but it is up to the jury in the state of Florida as to whether they want to seek the death penalty. And for Florida, I'm not sure if it's the same in all states, but it has to be unanimous for someone to receive the death penalty. So Luis is found guilty of all the charges, but he is spared the death penalty. And I believe it was 11-1. 11-1 in favor of the death penalty, 1 not, 11-1. So Luis Toledo is now in the Florida Department of Corrections. I'm gonna verify that. I just assume it's in Florida. I did not see that. I didn't really care to know where he was housed. But hey, he back with his peoples. If that's any solace for him, I suppose. But he is spared the death penalty. Unfortunately, there is no closure to this day for the family. He has not said where the bodies are. Jessenia's mother, Felicita, she does have true beliefs that they will be brought home and that her family will be buried where they deserve to be. And I hope that for them as well. So that's it for today's true crime video. For those of you who stayed to watch the end of this video, thanks for clicking on my face. Thanks for staying to watch the video. Make sure you subscribe before you click that exit button. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with my numbers. And I will see you guys in my next one. Girl, you're going to have to chop this up and screw it, because generally these are like one clip bams, but this story is giving me a whoop whoop bam. Let me drink more wine. Make sure my mustache ain't glistening. Oh, me. Why am I? Alright. So this is a long time we just